Hey guys, and welcome back to the Courageous Nerd YouTube channel for another interview. I'm Connor, and joining me today is Alex Collins to chat all about taking on the role of Dr. Charles McNider, or Dr. Mid-Nite, in the second season of Stargirl on the CW. We chat about how Alex was cast in this role, taking over from Henry Thomas, and much more. If you enjoy this interview or others on the channel, please be sure to like and subscribe. So welcome, Alex, and thank you for taking the time to speak with me today.
Connor, thanks for having me, man. Happy to be here.
Oh, for sure. And I was wondering, because obviously you just came off of Stargirl, you're on season 2 playing Dr. Mid-Nite or Charles McNider. And I was wondering, like, how did you first start acting? I know originally, right, you're from my side of the pond over here in the UK. And was it over here you kind of got into acting, or was it when you got over to the States?
It very superficially did I begin in England. You know, you sort of do the nativity play when you're a kid and that sort of thing. Cool. And that was honestly the extent of my interest at that point. But I grew up watching a really cool, I mean, as you well know, most of the TV we have growing up was American TV.
Yeah.
And I was really interested. I love this show called The Fall Guy, which was about an American stuntman.
Okay.
And I was like, all right, that's cool. I want to do that. I want to be a stuntman. And so I would start kind of like throwing myself out of a chair or down the stairs, or I would punch my brother in the face. And my mom wasn't very happy with that. And so she channeled that energy and put me into sports at that point. And that's how I started playing, football, playing soccer.
Yeah.
And I was a goalkeeper. So I got to really sort of throw my body around and get that same energy out. But then acting sort of went away. And, I played soccer for the rest of my formative years. And then when we moved to the United States, even then it was all about soccer. I wanted to be a professional soccer player. So it wasn't until, I did some acting in high school, but it wasn't until I was, firmly into young adulthood that I decided to make that leap professionally as an actor.
Yeah, and I suppose then with that early interest in like the stunts thing, I mean, you're probably on a great show now to like channel that interest, obviously, with something like Stargirl full of stunts and special effects and that kind of thing.
I mean, for me, I was a fan of the show anyway. I mean, I like the DC universe. And one of the things I didn't realize until I did join the show was really how complex the stunt work is. It's one of the most amazing shows I've ever been a part of in terms of their stunt work. I was fortunate enough to do another show a couple of years ago called Cobra Kai. And that stunt team was excellent also. Particularly, hot tip if anybody hasn't yet watched it, the season 2 finale of Cobra Kai is a massive, sweeping, multi-person stunt that lasts several minutes, and that was really fun. And Stargirl is the same way. The stunts are really complex and very well laid out and involve multiple characters. And I don't think it gets the credit that it really deserves on the stunt side of things, because it's the downside for me, Connor, is that Dr. Mid-Nite uses his brains first, and he doesn't really mix it up as much as the other characters. So that was a bit of a shame. I didn't get to really kind of mix it up.
Taking over a role that was played by someone else in season 1. I mean, I imagine that they had to audition it out again, or was it any different in terms of finding a different actor to step into the shoes of Dr. Mid-Nite?
Yeah, I mean, Henry Thomas played Dr. Mid-Nite in the pilot and in voiceover for season 1, and Henry's a great actor with many. I mean, everybody knows him from E.T. or Gangs of New York, Haunting of Hill House, that sort of thing.
Absolutely.
And obviously, for whatever reason, the opportunity came up again, and I had originally auditioned for Dr. Mid-Nite for the pilot.
Oh, really? Okay.
It went to Henry. And so I think, Jeff and the creative team, based on my audition then, and they'd seen me audition for a couple of other things over the course of the first season. They brought me back in to audition for Dr. Mid-Nite again. What's quite common in Hollywood is that you don't necessarily know what show you're auditioning for, or if you do a show, you don't necessarily know which character, or you might have dummy sides, which are not actually from the show.
Mm-hmm.
And so in my case, I got dummy sides. I wasn't Dr. MidNite sides.
Right.
It was a made up scene.
Could you put it together at all, though? Or
Yeah, there were enough clues in there where I could piece that together with the research and knew it
yeah.
was Stargirl, and so I was able to do, I think, bring enough of the character to life that Jeff and the creative team and the network felt pretty confident about it.
Yeah, and just because Henry Thomas had primarily like played him in voiceover, it was enough of a blank canvas to work with in terms of making the character your own.
Yeah, it really was a blank canvas. I mean, Henry had sort of established it, and I was able to pick up the baton and run with it.
Mm.
And when I first appear on camera in episode 9,
Yeah.
it's very much an ensemble scene. It's a funeral scene, it's a collaborative scene, and immediately there's a little bit of misdirection because the Flash is introduced right then as well.
Exactly, yeah.
And he's an iconic character across multiple universes. So very quickly they went, oh look, there's Charles McNider. Oh look, there's the Flash. Go pay attention to the Flash. And so that was a really nice, easy way for me to dip my toe in, so to speak.
Yeah, and obviously you mentioned the fact that you did research about the character, and Dr. MidNite has decades of comic book history behind him. So, like, was that a helpful resource to you when you got the part?
Yes and no. It was superficially. There was enough information online that I could read and build an emotional sketch, so to speak. But my first day that I joined the cast, Jeff brought me into his office and sat me down, and we had a chat. And he asked, "What do you need?" And so at that point, I was able to say, "Hey, look, I know I enter the story here, but the character story is existing before here. Can you provide me with all the scripts?" And so he gave me all the scripts. I was able to catch up. I was able to really start to pencil in the edges. And then he also showed me the very first scene from season 2, which obviously indicates my family, what happens to my daughter,
Rebecca.
And that really set me off on the emotional arc that I needed as the character.
Yeah, and just in case anyone might be listening to this and they haven't finished season 2 yet, just to kind of proceed with caution from what I'm about to say next, because obviously you're not the only Dr. MidNite who's on the show. There's obviously also Beth Chappell, played by Angelica Washington. And I think, for an actor, right, playing a superhero is like rare enough, but being the same superhero as someone else simultaneously in one project must be also an even rarer kind of experience. But like, how was kind of your experience of working with Angelica and sharing the mantle with her?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head, Connor. It is, I mean, every kid's dream to be a superhero, every actor's dream to get to play a superhero. Then not only that, but then I'm taking over for another actor and also playing a superhero that a younger version is also playing. And so, Angelica is amazing. We are very good friends. We like to go out for sushi together. And I think, season 2, for those who haven't seen all of season 2 yet, it's her maturation, right? She is growing. She is stepping into her confidence, and part of that is her relationship to my character. I'm very much a surrogate parent to her, given her relationship with her real parents. I take on this paternal role, but also sort of a professorial role, because I'm there to steward and shepherd her along. And so it was great. I mean, a fun little story. So whenever the Beth Chappell character is talking to Chuck via the AI, usually on set, it's a first AD that's reading Chuck's dialogue. I'm not there on those days, right?
Right.
But my very first day at work, Angelica was in rehearsal, and we played a trick on her where in the rehearsal, it was a first AD. But when they rolled the camera and she was actually recording it, I was around the corner doing the dialogue. And so she was reacting to me genuinely.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. And then when they cut, I poked my head around the corner and everybody clapped and we had a big hug. And so her reactions are her genuine first reaction to hearing my voice.
Oh, so the fact it was a different voice from rehearsal didn't throw her off then? She just kind of went with what she was hearing?
She went with it, and really, is that is that Chuck? Is that the real Dr. McNider? Oh my goodness. And so the reaction is very, very genuine.
Wow, cool. Yeah, I mean, that's something people never would have known without hearing it from you or Angelica. So I definitely appreciate that insight. It's super interesting. But I mean, obviously, also as you were saying, that obviously your version of Dr. MidNite is in the original JSA, which is from before the show's like main timeline, and obviously, real world perspective. You got actors like Luke Wilson, John McHale, John Wesley Shipp in there with you, Ethan Embry, as well as Johnny Thunder. Like, how do you feel though, like being a part of that group, and like, do you hope to kind of have scenes in the future, kind of setting up more of what your group dynamic was like in the past?
That's such a great question, and there's sort of two parts to the answer. The first part is it's a real treat and a real honor to play a character that first debuted in 1941, right?
Yeah.
And that was back, the original JSA was back when America and the world had some real enemies. That was World War II. It was the Nazis. Yeah. It was the war in the Pacific that was happening, and so these characters took on pillars of idealism and pillars of hope and moral character. So that sort of getting an opportunity to play a throwback character like that is such a fun thing for an actor. Yeah. And getting to work with those actors playing those characters was a real treat for me personally. Jeff Johns, the showrunner, the creator, he's a genius, and he has such an encyclopedic knowledge of so many comic book characters and so many, all of the universes. He's so smart, and in his head he's got somewhere between 5 and 6 seasons for Stargirl. And I don't know what the future holds. I don't know if I get to come back to Blue Valley. Who knows? But if I do, I'm standing right by my phone ready to say yes, and I would love to go play with all of those folks again. I mean, I think Jeff is a lot like a little kid on Christmas morning. He's just really excited to open a present and play with it. But for him, each present is a season, or each present is a character, and he just wants to play with all of them at the same time. But obviously, making a TV show is very much a business as well, and you have to put one foot in front of the other, and lay out all the puzzle pieces for things to make sense. So yeah, who knows? I know they're filming season 3 right now. And hopefully there'll be season 4 and season 5 and season 6. Who knows?
Yeah, and I suppose like another fun thing as well about having interviewed others from the show is kind of like putting all your personalities together and kind of thinking. I mean, because like for example, I haven't interviewed Angelica, who you would have worked the most closely with, but like, did you kind of get to know anyone else from the cast while you were on the show?
Yeah, I mean, I spent a lot of time with Breck directly because most of episode 211 is myself and Breck in the Shadowlands. And again, I'm the exposition for the audience. I'm helping bring the audience along so they know what's going on. Jonathan Cake, who plays Shade, we have the commonality in being English. Fun fact: we both support opposing soccer teams, so we like to give each other a bit of guff via text message whenever there's a North London derby. He has the sorrowful history of being an Arsenal fan, whereas I'm a Tottenham fan.
Oh no, you've unfortunately I'm with Jonathan on that. I'm a fellow Arsenal fan. You've wounded me there.
That's it, Connor. This is it. We're done now.
Oh no. I mean.
Here's a fun fact that will redeem me in your eyes. Just a little bit. When I was a kid, the very first stadium I actually went to was the old Highbury.
Yeah.
And I went and I had the good fortune of watching Arsenal in their heyday with some of the best players back then in the old first division before it was the Premier League.
Yeah. And obviously, like for a reference that none of the Americans or anyone else would get, I don't really know what Sol Campbell was thinking either, but that happened.
Yeah, that one's just between me, you, and the English people listening. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, so Johnny and I we get a good chance to give each other a bit of grief. Angelica, Breck, and I love Amy Smart, and I will probably. I think a group of us will get together for sushi. We all like sushi and we like chatting. And honestly, it's very much, there are no egos, no attitudes on this set. Everybody is warm, they're friendly. It was really, the hours are long, and the work can sometimes be challenging, and the weather can sometimes be unaccommodating. And so what you have to look out for is the person next to you. And we make jokes with each other, we sing songs, we dance at 3 a.m. I do remember one particular story. It happened to be Amy's birthday one night filming, and every time Amy came around the crew, we stopped and sang happy birthday. So we probably sang happy birthday about 10 times that night. Yeah. And balloons and cake and presents and all that. So that was a lot of fun.
For sure. And again, kind of like what I was saying earlier, if you haven't watched all of season 2, kind of be aware of what I'm saying. But I know, obviously, if you look at Dr. Mid-Nite in season 1, his storyline in season 2 isn't necessarily a direction I think you could have really predicted or maybe thought would be possible. I know similarly, kind of with Starman, they went in a certain direction with him. And again, not giving too much away, kind of not exactly the same, but kind of a similar way of incorporating Dr. Mid-Nite into the present day storyline. But I suppose that what most surprised you, or what kind of most intrigued you about where they took Dr. Mid-Nite in season 2?
Well, I think, for fans of the show, you'll notice a dramatic difference in tone between season 1 and season 2.
For sure.
Season 2 is much, much darker, and they're not shying away from bordering on a thriller, bordering on a horror. And that really heightens the situations that each of the younger characters specifically are in. Starman, Dr. Mid-Nite, and the Shade in particular, they're all very much aware of how dangerous Eclipso is. But the younger characters are not. And so they think that they can just take on this demonic, dark, scary thing, but they learn really quickly. And so I was really intrigued where the storyline went in terms of where allegiances lie. Is Shade good? Is Shade bad? You're not sure. Is Cindy Berman good? Is she bad? Or does she serve her own interests? I think for my character, the hardest challenge is towing the line. Charles McNider is an ethical being. He's a doctor. His job is to do no harm. His job is to heal and help and serve. And with the opening scene of season 2 being what it was, that puts him into direct conflict with his core mission as a doctor. And so he has to wrestle with that all season long. The opening scene, as you see her die, the opening camera pans across to the mailbox that says, we don't know if that's my daughter. We don't know if it's my wife. We don't know if it's someone just in some way related to me.
Or like, could it be a random Easter egg of someone with the same name? Could be a distant relative, right?
Could be, So, but it's planting the seeds.
You knew that was your character's daughter, I'm guessing, if it was in the script, if they went to the mailbox.
Yeah, and that was one of those things on that very first day when I sat down with Jeff. He showed me that scene, and he sort of filled in the spaces for me, and then that allowed me to paint the picture. I mean, I think whether you are a parent or not, anyone could imagine what they would do if someone did that to one of their loved ones. How would you react? How would you behave? What your moral compass tells you to do versus what actually may happen could be two different things.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know we were kind of talking about that it's got such a long comic book history, and to kind of look at the flip side of it, like would you say it's like a rule of thumb, like using knowledge from the comic books and like what could happen, like whether that affect what you would do in the moment, so to speak? So like, I know this could happen, but it's not in the script yet, so I can't let that affect what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, I mean, source material is just that. It's the source. It gets to square one. Then you really need to rely on the script.
Yeah.
The writers do the work for you. They do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. And Stargirl has a great writing team with a lot of history in comics, with a lot of history in DC, and a lot of history at CW, the network. And so you trust the words on the page, and you trust the work that you've done in research, source material, character choices, character development, and then you just leave that all at the door, and you put your focus on the other person when the camera rolls, or the other people, and you just have an honest experience. You listen to them and react accordingly. So the comic book material only gets you to the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. And I suppose, obviously, aside from being on this really kind of hit and like popular show right now, you're also a working actor, just like anyone else who's like looking for a job. And I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, it's known to be quite a competitive industry. So anyone who might be like aspiring, like to act, like maybe just struggling to book roles, like what advice do you think you could offer to those people?
Oh, that's such a good question. I mean, I've been really fortunate to do this for over 2 decades, and
Mm,
I've been teaching other actors for over a decade. And for me, the three most important words: let it go.
right.
The moment you finish the audition, don't hold on to it. Don't have any expectations on it. Move on to something else, because
Mm,
that will allow you to de-stress your life. You don't have to have the nervousness about the audition. Statistically speaking, you're not going to book that audition anyway.
yeah.
So a week later, when the phone does ring and you do get good news, it's a wonderful treat. Uh,
Mm,
but our job as actors is really to audition.
yeah.
We're singing for our supper, so to speak. And then when you do have the good fortune of booking a job, then you have to deliver the goods. And
Mm,
and then you fall back on your training. You fall back on your training and your instincts and your experience on other sets. And let it go is the most important 3 words for any actor.
mm. Yeah, because I know just from asking that like that question or a similar question in the past in other interviews, that people have also said maybe not to take it always personally if you didn't get the role, because it could be nothing to do with how you know how you performed. I know an example people give. I mean, even in your case, if they'd already cast Rebecca and you didn't look like you could plausibly be her father, you might not have gotten the role because it has to be realistic that you could be related,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, there's so many, there's thousands of factors as to why an actor won't book a job, and
Mm,
only a few reasons why an actor will book a job. So instead of getting all stressed out about it, it's just best to let it go and move on and go about your day and enjoy your puppy or your kids or nature or whatever it is, knowing that another opportunity will come. It's a marathon, not a sprint. This thing takes
yeah.
decades to become a working actor, you know?
Mm. Yeah, because obviously, like the misconception of like people becoming a star overnight. Then would you say that's kind of, I mean, unless you're someone like in the Harry Potter films, where it literally was your first job. In most cases, you would have just been working for years and years and years just to get to that point.
Yeah, I mean, the likelihood of an overnight success is about the same as either getting struck by lightning or winning the lottery. Does it
Mm,
happen? Yes. Is it likely? No, not at all. And so again, that's one of those things. Don't even focus on that exterior noise of, well, so and so made it overnight, and so made it overnight. Because when you dig a little deeper, even in a lot of those cases,
yeah,
they might have had a private teacher for years,
right.
coaching them on their auditions. They just became overnight success to the general public, but they might have been
Yeah,
doing 10, 12 years at that point.
for sure. And this is actually the last question I've got. And obviously, you've just been on Stargirl, and presumably you're looking to the next adventure, next job. Like, what do you hope to accomplish, I guess, as this year ends and as we go into 2022?
Wow, that's such a great question, Connor. Thanks for asking.
Mm,
With the exception of Stargirl, a lot of the characters I play tend to have a chip on their shoulder or a little bit of an
okay.
attitude, or they might have some flaws in their character. So I get beat up a lot, shot, stabbed, kicked,
Mm,
killed. So playing someone redeeming like Dr. Mid-Nite, playing someone with a nice moral compass was great. And I'm really appreciative of that opportunity. But I'm really, as we get into 2022, I'm really looking to sink my teeth into some darker characters again. Maybe a period piece. I'm a big fan of period piece work. I've done a lot of period pieces.
mm,
Dr. Mid-Nite in himself is a bit of a character thrust into the modern world. Yeah. So yeah, I would love to play something somewhere 1920s, 1930s, 1940s, and a very dark, layered, shady character.
Yeah, I'm sure it'd be like an actor's dream, right? If you did turn up in another project, people are kind of like squinting, like, is that, as opposed to being like, oh yeah, that's so and so, right? You kind of want to have that ambiguity and be able to play a wide range of parts. I would imagine, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's pretty helpful to do that. I mean, I live my life with a beard most of the time, but most of the acting roles are clean shaven. So people do have to do a double take or squint and go, have I seen him? Where do I know him from? Most people think I just look like somebody they went to high school with.
Right. Yeah, I mean, obviously, to wrapping this up, just to say, well, best of luck if you are back on the show in season 3. Best of luck with that. Best of luck with any other ventures you have. It's great to talk to a fellow Brit. I don't get to do it often enough, but appreciate you taking the time, and all the best, and stay safe. Take care.
Connor, thanks so much for taking the time and asking some really insightful questions, and most importantly, to close, come on, you Spurs!